back, everyone. Ross from RV Tips and Travels. I hope everyone is doing well. I wanted to cover a topic today that I don't see a lot of people talking about when it comes to the solid frame entry steps, like the Morryde step above system or the Lippert solid steps. They are hugely popular and a lot of RV companies are putting them on their RVs direct from the factory these days. But there are a couple things that you should know before buying these or using these steps if you already have them on your RV. The design can actually cause huge inconvenience issues and potential damage on your RV if they're not used correctly. So today I'm going to cover everything so you guys know what to expect. Stick around. First is going to be the installation of the Morryde step above system, because that's what we put on our travel trailer. Second, I'm going to give you my opinion and my review based on having used these steps for about a year now. Third, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about some possible issues that you may have with these steps, again, that I don't see a lot of people talking about. So when we decided to change out our entry steps, we actually went with the Morryde step above system. But there are other manufacturers out there that make very similar steps as well. Lippert makes a solid step. It's got a deeper top step. It's also priced a little bit higher too. We didn't necessarily care about the top step, and we know that Morryde makes a great product, so we ended up going with the Morryde. It's just important that you do your research before you purchase these steps so you know what features you're looking for. Now, if you do decide to go with the Morryde step above system, I put a link down below in the video description. They have a page on their website that will walk you through a couple different measurements that you need to take so that you order the correct steps for your RV. Installation is pretty simple on the Morryde step above system, even if you're not handy. The first thing you're going to do is remove the interior plate on the inside of your RV sitting next to your threshold. On a lot of models, it's just 3 screws. Just pull those screws out and that plate will pop right out. So you're seeing some screw holes in the floor. Obviously, I've already installed these steps, so I pulled everything out so I can show you guys how to install them. Next, you want to install your steps into your doorway and have them up as if you're traveling. If you're able-bodied, you can lift these things right in and drop them right into the doorway, or you can set them down on your threshold as if they're out and just lift them up and put them into your doorway. Either way, once you put these things into your doorway, you want to make sure that the locking mechanisms on the side lock into your door frame. You can make some adjustments on the locking mechanisms themselves to widen it or narrow it down. Now, you need to do 2 things here. You need to make sure, obviously, that your steps are directly centered in your doorway. You also want to measure from the edge of the hinge to the threshold. That measurement needs to be 15/16 of an inch. Once you're at 15/16 of an inch, you can put 2 screws down into the floor just to hold it to do some test fitting. So I would recommend just taking a drill bit that's about half the thickness of the mounting screws they give you, drill a pilot hole, 1 on each side into the screw holes, and put 2 screws in, 1 on each side. Now you can release the steps, drop them down to the ground, and make sure that the steps fit over the threshold properly. This is also a point in time when you can shut your door and make sure that your door is not hitting your steps. However, the most important part of this step is actually making sure that the steps are snug over top of your threshold. The steps are going to fit over that threshold perfectly, as you see here, or they're not going to fit perfectly. You want that to fit perfectly. That's the only thing that really matters right now. If your door is hitting your steps, you're going to need to make adjustments to your door later. I had no issues with fitment when I was doing my installation, but if you do run into anything, you can go ahead and post questions in the comments below. Once your steps fit perfectly over the threshold, put your steps back up into your doorway and you can finish installing the rest of the mounting screws into the hinge. You also want to make any adjustments to the locking mechanisms on the side so that your steps will not fall forward or backward unless the release handle is activated. Again, installation is pretty easy, but if you run into any issues, feel free to comment and we'll make sure that we answer those questions for you. These steps come with adjustable mounting legs. When using these, make sure that your steps fit nice and snug over top of your threshold before you put your legs down. You don't want your steps to sit too far up above the threshold, and you don't want them to be bearing a lot of weight on the threshold either. You'll know the happy medium when you use these steps. It's not rocket science, but it is worth mentioning. They're very stable, so if you're carrying tired puppies into your RV, or if you have a couple plates of food that you're bringing out, it makes it much easier to maintain your balance as you're walking on these steps. And because it's another connection from your RV to your ground, they actually do add a little bit of stability to your trailer like your stabilizer jacks do. I would give these things a 10 out of 10 for how we use them. Fantastic, and I highly recommend them. But there are some things that you need to know before buying them or before using them. These solid frame step systems have to protrude from your RV a certain distance for the steps to actually open. This is important for a couple different reasons. If you store your RV in a storage place where they park the campers right next to each other, if you store your RV at home in a garage, you're gonna need to make sure that you have clearance to open those steps if you want to get in your RV while it's in storage. The second thing worth noting, if you go into your camper while leveling, the height of the step is going to change relative to the ground as you level front to back. Now, my steps are in the back of my trailer, so if I'm parked and I need to lower the tongue of my trailer to level it out, the steps, if they're open, are going to raise off the ground. If I'm parked and my steps are open and I have to raise the front of my RV, that means the back of my RV is going to drop. The steps are sitting on the ground, the back end is going down. In this scenario, the steps are going to start to push up, and they're going to push up and damage your RV door. So the fix to this is to simply leave your steps folded up into your RV as you're leveling. Third thing I want to mention, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is worth mentioning, is that the feet on these RV steps is pretty small in comparison to the size of the steps and the weight that's going to be put on those steps. If you park at campgrounds where you have grass or soft dirt, it's a good idea that you bring some type of block to put underneath there, because what's going to happen is as you travel up and down those steps, those small feet, because there's not a lot of surface area, are going to start to sink into a soft ground. So the fix is just to bring some blocks and make sure you put them under your feet. Don't let these things scare you guys. I still highly recommend these steps, but I wanted you to have the awareness of the potential issues that you could have with these style steps. And as far as maintenance goes, all you really need to do is put a little dry lube or white lithium grease on the hinge, probably once or twice a year should be good. Adding solid frame steps allows you to remove your old steps and replace that area with more storage. We installed this Morryde storage box where our factory steps used to be. I'll put a link to that down below in the video description if you want to check that out too. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, check out the other videos on our channel, and we hope that you consider subscribing. We look forward to meeting more of you guys on the road this summer. See you soon.